Well, I think all writers want to teach. If we weren't interested in teaching, we probably wouldn't write. I think we all do. Books teach, and they don't always teach in that 1 + 1 = 2. But all writers are trying to share a vision, trying to say something so that people can change their minds or expand their world, or find another way to deal with the world. I think it's a natural a progression.
Right. Well, speaking of writing, and when down with your pen, I know we usually have a vision and a vision. What do you usually want your readers to get from writings, and what vision are you on when you're delivering your words to someone?
Well, I'm always hoping, of course, that people are using their imagination, because writing is an art of imagination. But in using that, you have to have some facts. You have to have some fact-based situations. You just can't say, well, I'm imagining this and that's the way it's going to go. One of the reasons science fiction is so very popular is that it's such good science. Yes. If it wouldn't be as good as science, it wouldn't be good science fiction. And the same thing is true of poetry. One of the things that makes poetry work for, I think, so many people is that it's emotionally honest. And if we didn't have that emotional honesty, people wouldn't trust us to have feelings about what we're saying. Right.
That's a good point. Very good point. And I will say, as I've said to other authors, that writing is very therapeutic. I mean, I can see what mood I was in when I was writing, and I just think it's something that I try to tell other people to do as well, who aren't interested in writing per se, but just for being with your emotions.
Oh yeah, it's very good for helping you to understand the world you're living in and make sense out of a lot of things that you think don't make sense, and then you're saying to yourself as you're writing it out, oh, but what about this? Or I wonder if I could have done that. You begin to find different ways to look at your world, and that's a successful. That poem or whatever it is successful if you can do that.
And I truly agree. I wanted to ask you this because you've been a celebrity for a long time. Maybe you don't know yourself as that status, but to other people you are. Other people you are. So let me ask you this. Who excites you? What celebrities are you in awe of or would like to meet or have had a chance to meet that you can talk about that impression on you?
Well, clearly I think my very, very favorite celebrity is Rosa Parks. She was an incredible woman. And it was just such a pleasure to be able to call her friend, to speak with her, to have her call. It's just incredible. And in meeting Miss Parks, it's just like I was in awe. It's one of those like, oh, what do I say to her?
Yes, I know, Mr. Giovanni.
Yeah, but gosh, I mean, she's a great woman, and that was it was just an honor to be able to call her friend. And I do miss her. Most of my friends have been like old, and it's been an interesting thing because I grew up with my grandmother, and of course my mom too, but mostly with my grandmother, and so I'm used to having older women around me. And lately, of course, as it has to be, I'm losing them, and I'm looking around, and fewer people. I have one aunt left, and everybody else has passed. And you think, wow, I really miss my friends, because they're the ones who give you advice, and they're the ones when you think everything is going wrong, they're like, oh, no, you should have been here in 1927 when They make you feel good, and they keep you centered,
Yes, they do.
And that's very important.
It is. And speaking of grandmothers, I just want to let you know that I have a copy of your poetry book, Grandmothers.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
The compilation and to my grandchildren. So I'm really enjoying it. If you get back to Rosa Parks, was she able to see the book that you did in honor of her?
Books she did. The book was not pub date for Rosa was December 1st, quite naturally, 2005, excuse me. And the book, illustrated books, really start with the publisher saying, I would like to do this book. And then they actually go and find a writer. In this case, they called me because they knew that I knew Mrs. Parks. And I said, oh, I'd be delighted. And then they contacted Brian Collier, who is the illustrator. Brian's illustrations are just incredible, just wonderful. And then Brian sketches out the book, and then it comes back to the editor. and to me, the author. I never look at the sketches. They're called thumbnail sketches. I never look at thumbnail sketches, and I never will, because if I didn't think that Brian could do the job, I wouldn't have let him on my book. So I never check on him like that. And so the next thing that happens is that they're actually, in the United States now, we send all of that abroad. It used to be that we did our own color separations, but we don't. You send them out to places like Czechoslovakia and Korea, a bunch of places.
Okay.
And so the book goes out, and you get the color separations. And then they come back, and those are called the F and Gs. They're called the fold and gathers. And this is the first time I saw the book. Now, normally with the fold and gathers, you would have 3 copies, one for the author, me, one for the editor, Laura Godwin, and one for Brian. But for some reason, it's serendipitous. For some reason, we had 4 copies. And the 3 of us were on the phone, and we had another copy, and we said, let's send it. I didn't. Someone else did, either Laura or Brian. Said, let's send it to Mrs. Parks. And I said, well, because since I was the only one who actually knew her, I said, send it to me, and I'll send it to her. And Laura said, well, you can just give me her address. And I said, well, Laura, if, Rosa Parks had wanted you to have her address, I'm sure she would have called you. So why don't you just send it to me, and I'll take care of it. And so I did, and I sent it. She was living, in Detroit. And I sent it to her, and she got a chance. She didn't see the completed book, but she saw the F and Gs.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I know they had made that good.
Yeah, we were glad because, we had, of course, hoped. The last time I talked to Ms. Parks, I had said, well, I'll see you in December, because we were having a special thing in New York for it. And she said, well, baby, if I'm here, I'll be there. And I said, you'll be there. I'm looking forward to it, But, of course, as you know, she passed,
Yeah.
So,
it sounds like you had a wonderful relationship. It's wonderful to be able to have those
she was a wonderful woman. I mean, just everything that you would want to be, She was courageous.
Yeah,
of course, she was drop-dead gorgeous. And people forget how really beautiful Miss Parks was. And she's very nice, very soft-spoken, She always knew who she was. She's like a queen. She never had to fight with it. People are always wondering, like, somebody said something about it. That wasn't her problem. She always knew who she was.
That's right. I understand. That's what strong women are made of. They know who they are. We're tuned in to From the Soul Show. I am your radio mistress. Ladies are going to be having a wonderful chat with legendary Nikki Giovanni. I'm going to go to the phone. I'm going to take one call. And what I ask is that you keep your comments and your questions brief because of other people who want to get in on the chat. And we want to hear more from Miss Nikki G. So I'm just going to call. On the line with Nikki Giovanni. Who are we speaking to?
This is Beverly Black Johnson, Gumbo for the Soul Publications. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey,
yes, Beverly. Welcome.
Hi, Lady Serenity, and welcome. Thank you for the welcome. And hello, Ms. Nikki Giovanni. How are you?
How are you?
I'm blessed. You're a hard lady to catch up with. I have to call her interview line.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. You know why? Because you try to call me on my cell phone, and I don't use it. The only time I even turn that on is when I'm lost or need to be someplace. And then I will see that you called me a month ago.
Well, you know what? I got a text from Lady Serenity today, so I wasn't tracking you down, but I'm honored just to listen to the interview and the answers, the questions, and it's like I can relate to how you felt speaking to Ms. Rosa Parks because that's how I felt speaking to you the first time. I must have walked a hole in my floor. We were introduced by co-founder of Deaf Poetry Jam, Bruce George, for your listeners, Lady Serenity. And I was just blown away, just like I'm sure Ms. Giovanni must have been speaking to Rosa Parks, or yourself, Lady Serenity, speaking to Ms. Giovanni. So it's just an honor and a privilege. And what I really like is listening to your answers. You're just like us. So, just like you said, Miss Rosa Parks, just beautiful, courageous, gorgeous, and that strength, and that's us. So I just wanted to say that.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you called in.
Beverly. Thank you so much. And Beverly's going to be on the show in the upcoming months, and I'm honored to have her on. It has a wonderful, wonderful series, Gumbo for the Soul. So, listeners, please check her out as well. Beverly, I'm going to talk to you a little later.
God bless. Thank you so much. And you
Thanks,
too.
Thanks for calling in.
Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Yes. Now, Nikki, I'm sure that over the course of time, you've got over 30 years of experience in all these different books that you've seen some change in the literary world. Which ones do you feel are best to the advantage of the writers? I know you've seen many things since you began.
Well, first of all, there's been an explosion of African-American literature. And when we started, the group that I sort of came up with is called Black Arts. When we started, there were no sections in the stores. People have been saying, I don't think there should be a black section. Well, when we started, there weren't but 3 or 4 black books. So I'm really thrilled about that. And I think it's definitely to the advantage of the writer that we have electronic books and that we have DVDs, that we have other ways of reaching people, through that. And so I'm really excited and pleased about that. I think that's really good. But, Lady Serena, I got to say one thing because I get teased about it. But, the one thing that I don't do is cell phone. I was just talking to Bev. I have one because my mother has passed now, but when she was still with us, she needed to be in touch with me. And once Mommy died, and she's been dead for 5 years, I don't ever have it on. And every now and then something will happen. I'll be lost or something. And I'll turn on the phone, and there'll be Bev saying, you need to call me, Nikki. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, that happened 4 months ago. so I'm being embarrassed.
I'm glad you were able to speak here.
Well, I thank you for that. I definitely thank you for that.
No problem. What I wanted to ask you, too, because I don't know if you got the questions I was going to ask you, but our audience is waiting to hear something from either your recent work or just something that's to your heart that you've written. Can you please share with us an excerpt of something on the show, please?
Oh, sure. It's I wrote this for Oprah. How to Save the World in 100 Words for Oprah magazine. Okay. For me, it is the realization that I cannot save the world. The world is neither time nor money. For me, it is that thing in front of me, the man in prison for a horrible crime who has become my brother, my neighbor's sons who talk football to me over the back fence, the yellow jackets who have made their home by my deck, all the things I say I don't have time to do, but really don't have time to don't do. For me, it is the joy of being alive. For me, it is the living. I clocked this in at 99 words. I wonder what I missed.
Oh, boy, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And you have a style of being humorous in a lot of your pieces as well. Does that come naturally?
I think so. I have a sense of humor, yeah. And I get teased about it, but yeah, it's pretty natural, yeah, for sure.
Now, again, Nikki, over the years, you've been a civil rights, you've spoken of civil rights, you've been a civil rights leader and educator, commentator and everything, that you know that you're into empowerment. You empower other people, and you want other people to be the best that they can be. So from who do you draw your strength? Who empowers you? Well,
of course, I had a great-grandmother and my mother, and I was talking about my mom's friends. You know, I was just lucky. I grew up in a community of strong women, and just been very fortunate that they've been good friends, and they've really reached out to me.
Okay. Wonderful. So I know you're a busy lady. Give us an idea of what a typical day is like for you. What is it like in the day of the Nikki Giovanni? Well,
right now, of course, I'm still teaching. School will be out soon, and I'm not going to travel this summer. I'm going to stay home. I decided I'm going to stay home and garden, which is what I really enjoy. I put my potatoes in already. So I'm going to try to grow potatoes this year. Last year I grew some incredible carrots and celery and beets. So I'm going to stay home. But a typical day is I get up about 7:30, between 6 and 7:30. And I like to write. If I don't have anything to do, I like to write. But now with teaching, you don't have that kind of time. So I really have to just get up and do some work. But I'll be glad when summer comes.
Okay. Right. And I think one thing that people would be surprised to know about you is that you enjoy gardening. So thank you for letting us know that. It's also